Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of A Talk with the Galactics. This is an extremely interesting episode that is being recorded on June 1st, Tuesday, 2021. This is actually quite interesting. I will go into some of the historical stuff first, so there is some context to what I'm about to say. You heard on Galactic Interstellar Council, for one, that there were aliens that came and went from Las Vegas, and how they were fully integrated into that community, and that they had the ability to hide themselves basically at will. You also heard me talk about the dream with the man that was in the mask in the casino giving me that message from Isaac, even though Isaac is quite capable of giving me a message. Then also on other recordings that I will recap here, you heard me speak about a race that I've adopted the word Habibi about. They are the fourth Cassiopean species in their star system, of which the Mosin have had to move against in history because of their domineering nature. They are the ones that brought the swastika to the Nazis. They are the ones that assisted the Nazis by supplying them with arms, weapons, and soldiers. Of course, the Draco and the Orions as well. They're all in league together. But I came to find out that the Draco played a minor part in this. The Habibi, which again, I'm using that word, and many of you are probably laughing if you know the meaning of that word. They brought this up in conjunction with themselves. They are what is known as a Circassian, meaning Caucasian, blonde-haired, blue-eyed, Persian, Arab, Jewish race. They are the origin for all of these races, such as Jew, Arab, Philistine, and Sumerian, any of those, and Persian, and any of those races in the Middle East that split off and made all of these other races. They have the ability to have dark-skinned children, but these people are quite evil. They basically sacrifice the darker-skinned ones, and they want purely Caucasian. And this is where the Nazis and them were perfect bedfellows. Then they are also, I believe, related to German and Russian as well. They've been integrated in, so there's really no such thing as pure anything. What this race is, they're basically a race of conquerors, soldiers. They've appeared in the secret space program and other planets. They look like they would be traitors, but they're soldiers. They have Middle Eastern garb, but they're white-skinned. It's almost like seeing a white rapper, kind of. You know, you expect them to be a darker-skinned person, but they're white. You know, it's kind of like it has that kind of feel to it. But during this, the Mosin realized that they had broken several treaties by interacting with the Nazis and helping them out. So the Mosin came in, helped the British and the Americans out to balance the Second World War. This is also why the Nazis went underground and did what they did, so they could get around some of the Mosin. And now everybody's in weird positions of power as a result. There was another group that called themselves the Sulin. They are an offshoot of the Habibi. And the reason I use Habibi, this is funny, this made them laugh, because the fact they were seeing themselves so great. Habibi is a term of endearment. It means beloved in Arabic. They were calling themselves beloved. They were beloved by the galaxy, beloved by everybody, like a master race. That's what the connotation they used. I turned it around and gave it a sarcastic connotation and threw it back at them, and I stamped their race with that word. This made them very angry, but it also made the Sulin laugh their ass off. So what happened during the last great conflict between these two is Sulene wanted to avoid ethnic cleansing. So they took off, made their own bubble right next to Las Vegas, roughly to the west of Las Vegas, from what I understand. The interior looks like it would be part of the Vegas Strip if you went there. In fact, I think it's kind of cooler, actually. This is where some of these Galactics are coming and going from. I was wondering where in the hell were they going? It was a bubble. And it has been there since 1918. But the Sulene have been there before then. But the Habibis showed up and tried to ruin their day, and they had to erect a bubble. They were helping some of the original settlers out with gaining resources at that time. So they had to erect this bubble, but it works in reverse. Day and night time. What happens is, in the morning, I'll go into the dream that I had regarding this. Whereas it was coming up on dinner time there, and it was coming up on morning and breakfast time here. So I thought it was very interesting how they have that time differential. It was just the way the bubble's set up. It's off. From our standards, it's off. So I will go into this, then we will go into the other part of this. I was in a large, thriving city, very much like the Vegas Strip, but all interconnected. It was one solid connected thing. It had streets and everything, but you could literally live within the structure and never go outside if you didn't want to. Some people did, some people did. The majority were in there. I wandered around a bit until I came across a man by the name of Subdim. He seemed nice and walked with me a bit. I pointed out that his city looked a lot like the Vegas Strip, and he said, sort of, it has some of her people living here, meaning there's humans there too, which I don't blame him, the place was rather cool. I asked what race he was from, and he said Sulene, and that we had met before. As we walked, Subdim vanished, and I wandered for a time trying to remember what was said. And I even ripped a sign off the wall and wrote on it. You know, like I was, since I knew I was in a physical environment, I was saying, okay, I was trying to remember details, but I knew I was projecting, like astral projecting. So I knew I wanted to remember what was said, so I just kind of tore something off the wall and was writing on it. Nobody seemed to give a crap, so it was fine. I was running around and seeing workmen in the background and everything, and little vehicles moving, just like you'd see in any environment like that, but futuristic looking, almost like the Jetsons. I went up to a room where Joanna and a mystery blonde lady were. Her name is Vula. She's the one that's going to speak. The room was an odd futuristic shape, with a trapezoidal shaped bedroom living area slash kitchen too, I should say, and a protruding deck out onto the strip. It went off into a trapezoidal shape out. It was very reminiscent of the Jetsons, almost, of the way they had their setup and the style of it, but it had more, and it also merged with a 60s style Americana, in a way, if you want to say that. What's really weird, I know when I'm astral projecting somewhere, because I never have any damn clothes on when I'm doing that. It's the light body thing, where it just isn't needed because you're an energetic form. It's not needed there, and nobody really cares. You're dealing with the people that don't care about things like that. So some people would think that's alien abduction. Yes, that does happen. That happens a lot, actually. But with this, it was the light body. And yes, aliens do abduct light bodies, so you see the match there. That does happen. But this time it was not one of those specific instances. This was an actual benevolent instance. And then for some reason, you're able to travel with clothes because you had a pinkish purple jumpsuit on. I don't know how you manage to do that. I'm usually never wearing anything when I'm projecting anywhere. So it's weird. She manages to take some covering with her. I don't. I don't get it. But because the whole thing with the light body is it's the form. It's not clothes. Unless you're using a color as like a shield of some kind. Otherwise you're naked when you're projecting your light body. And the new lady was wearing some kind of silken robe. You know, and that was pretty much it. It was like the area was a resort, so you expect that. As we spoke, a waiter or maitre d' came in to take food order. You know, it's that kind of place. It's weird how they've adapted it to human and alien. Everyone ordered. She seemed to poke fun at the maitre d'. That's basically how it went. Something was on his sleeve. You know, I don't know what the hell that was all about. And then he says, yes, ma'am, I'll take care of that right away. And, you know, he was polite. You can make fun of some of these people and it doesn't matter. Stood there telling them both I had to record something, meaning this now. And, because I was getting a download while there, because it was the energy vibration. And she said, now, you know, if you guys expect to eat, it will be a bit late, meaning it was now. She was basically saying it was dinner time there. Said, I need to, and then and she was commenting, well, okay, fine, you know, essentially. And it was then I woke up in front to find the man. I kept mixing his name up with the race name. His name is Subdeen. I kept interplacing his name with the race because it was so similar. That was my mistake. I woke up to Subdeen and the lady here. And then I said, hello, sorry I can't speak that long. And it was his accent, so I kept replacing the race name. So I'll just put his proper name in there. It is quite all right, my good friend. I am Subdeen, and this is Vula, and we are of a race, like, you know, I flipped them around, and it's a race known as the Sulin. We are a peace-loving people and want to paint the right picture for our peoples. And also, what I'm feeling is the reason I kept flipping that name around is because the fact they had time frame flipped around. So everything was kind of had this mirror effect to it, to where I was flipping proper names around like that. So I had that corrected before I got on this recording. We have been in a bubble around your Las Vegas, Nevada area since 1918. Why so soon in time, you wonder? Well, let me tell you a bit of a tale, shall I? If I can get this open. Excuse me a minute. It is being difficult. Yes, Subdeen, continue. Good, because what I am here to say will not take long at all. We are an offshoot of whom you have dubbed the Habibi peoples, which, if I must say, describes them pretty well, but I must insist that that word not be used around me and Vula here, understand? You know, they took offense to it, but they politely said, please do not direct it at us. But only she kept using it here later, just to go hee to it. But if they use it, it seems all right. But I said, yes, Subdeen and Beulah, I do apologize for any offense. None taken, my new friend, none taken. She will complete the story, sir. Hee ta. And okay. I am Beulah, and we all have known each other for some time now. Even in you both's SSP time frame. Our pocket is not small, but it is new. We had to form it to get away from the Habibi, sorry, still funny. Anyhow, we formed near where eventually Las Vegas was to be a bigger city later in history. We helped the people set up basic commerce and trade, as well as the games that you see there. And they put that in quotes. Yeah. Okay. It was a nice time then, but even better now. When you both met me this morning for you, evening for us, morning for you, evening for us, because of a time inversion shield, as it were. This also apparently flips proper names around a lot, so I may not even have her name completely correct. I was just getting ready to eat and invited you both to stay with me a while. We here have no qualms about nudity or same-sex pleasuring, blah, blah, blah. It is all about how one feels at the time. Let's see, complete opposite of the other guys. The other guys are very stringent, very almost robotic in their emotionlessness. They're very, they're Nazi type. They don't want anything to do with that other stuff. Elena and Vesa, the other two from the Saranans, and her brother Vask, and the others that you met frequent our humble tidings every quarter or so. This is where they went when they traveled with you in your car. And I said, how do you know, how do I know you? You seem familiar to me. She said, you and beautiful Joanna stopped by here every quarter as well. You see, this is what you were expecting to partake in when you came to Vegas, hence some of the disappointment with food and masks and people. And also hence the lackluster feel you were expecting us, dear, she said. So that makes sense. If your soul was expecting one thing and you're expecting another, I'm not saying the whole place was like that, I'm just saying the energy, as we've said before. That is very interesting, Beulah, thank you. You're most certainly welcome, and welcome back to our fair city anytime. And I asked her, what is it called? She said, New Vieira, after our fallen home, of which the Habibi, decimated in one of the last great conflicts. I said, I'm so very sorry, my condolences. She said, thank you, that means a lot coming from you. Can we all chat after we speak to our friends, which we had some people we were speaking to today? She said, sure thing, after you are done with all of your things, we sure can. Love you guys, and loved you, Vula and Subdin, and that was that. So, I know that was a huge amount of information there. What happened is, yeah, they split off, they escaped the whole ethnic cleansing of the Habibi, and I'm going to continue to call those other people that because of the fact they're the ones not only that used the word, but they used it in a negative connotation. I'm putting a humorous connotation on it. The only reason that other guy was slightly offended is because at first I thought he was one of them. But again, he was darker skinned, they're lighter skinned. They don't really like having darker skinned people around. Think Nazi, think Aryan, which that's where the word Aryan comes from. Persia, Aryan, white skin. And that's where you see the swastika, that's where it comes from as well. And since these people are the precursor to all of those Middle Eastern races, even the extinct ones and offshoots, and it's also my belief that these were the people that communicated with Samson instead of God to get him to wipe out the Philistines. That's just my opinion. I can't prove that at the moment because it's usually some alien race that wants to wipe out a genetic variant in their opinion, and this is how these people think. So intuitively, I kind of surmised it was them. I don't have any confirmation of that, though. That's just more of an opinion based on their behavior. But anyhow, this is these people, and I found it quite interesting that it's just such a stark difference. You think Vegas, you think almost Sin City. This is kind of how that is, but with open trade and open trade, open sexuality, open friendships, open kindness is essentially what they have there. And then over here, it's just pure hatred and pure closed down everything. So it's a stark difference. With that said, we will go into talking to Vula. And from what I understand, on the Friday show, it's going to be Isaac's father. So, So that should be interesting there. He too is transmitting from there. And as you heard from the Interstellar Council on Camelot, Charles was saying that his father wasn't there. He was more worldly and went to other pockets, and henceforth there he was. So that's where a majority of the Galactics are transmitting from, if they're doing it from a distance, say from Las Vegas Strip itself, is this pocket. And it's odd that its time differential is off. I found that very weird and disorienting. So like I said, that's why I mix those names up. Okay. Viola? Dang it. There's also a large amount of energy flying around today that you get the cotton mouth pretty bad. Okay, can you go through the crystal, please? Ooh, that is weird. Okay. Where she's transmitting from the differential, also there's this weird inversion, and also the bad guys don't like the fact that we're communicating. I feel the Habibi do not like the fact that that is there, that bubble is there. It's like an affront to their agenda, so they don't like it. So I'm going to be posting more posts on them in the not too distant future. A read I did with Ryan, that they were included in that, and their emblem. And as I learned more about them, I included other recordings as well. So, okay. Yes, I know, I will get to you. Okay. To the crystal, please. Oh, that's weird. You can definitely tell it's coming through the looking glass. Well, hello everyone. My name is Viola, and I do live within the bubble, as he calls it. And we will refer to this from this point forward as the Vegas bubble, as it were. It was definitely a time of struggle just prior to erecting the bubble. Our people were scattered in the desert areas. Our people are accustomed to this, yes, but being a desert dweller type people, however, we were constantly hounded by those you refer to as the Habibi. They do have a proper name, though they do not deserve a proper name. So we will just continue to use the slur for the moment. In this, their conquest of the galaxy would rival that of the Orions and rival that of other draconian forces. There are other conquistador type aliens out there. Just to let everyone know, folks, it's not just reptilian, serpent, or the like. Some look more like yourselves, and some are more related to yourselves, I am sorry to say. In this, yes, the Ryans saw a common agenda and aligned with them, and along with other Nazi forces, and now some of your Chinese as well, in utilizing them to conquer different parts of the galaxy, especially in your secret space programs. They have become very invaluable in this case, and some of their agendas here on Earth as well. So this is why people see the majority of them, because of the fact that it is so well advertised. But there are others that are in the background that look more like yourselves, us included, but we do not harbor such a dark and evil agenda. Our goal is simple: just to expand our knowledge and just to expand the bubble a little bit, as well as interact with our cousins, humans. Say, we're related to the Mozen and the Saranans, as well as the Inasanak. They all have joined us here, as well as other races from underground. Even some of your own people, some of your own military have wandered in here as well. But after that, they decided to go AWOL and hang around. Not to blame them, but they just couldn't leave. But anyway, we are to the west of your Las Vegas within the open desert areas. We're not quite as far over as the military bases, but we do have a bubble that almost intersects some of the military territory. They have attempted with their machinery to enter many times, either because they think we've captured some of their people when we've just merely allowed kinder souls in, or they just want to gain any sort of technologies out of it. This is not something that can be allowed. It is a free and open space, yes, but not to those that of a conquering nature, very similar to that of the Habibi, and even those that work with them. No, this is not something that is tolerable to us, and this is why Subdim took slight offense to using the term Habibi, because it did start out as a term of endearment within the Arab tongues as well as ours, but then got twisted when the other guys decided that they were going to use it to ingratiate themselves upon the universe. This is why the offense was taken, not the return slur back at them. He actually found that hilarious. He just did not show it in that particular way. We have a fairly large population, I must say, with Saranan, Mozen forces, Sulin, and other alien races that come and go, including humans. We are at least 1 million and or more strong, given any times of the year it comes and goes up and down. This is the part where I can take questions.
Oh, well, thanks for coming in and talking. So I think to try and still patch in some of the history, so obviously you call this, when your battle with the Habibi, one of the last great type of wars for you. Obviously your home world was, it sounds like, I don't know if it was now made unlivable, they conquered it, or something else happened. You can probably explain, but why then did you come into Earth? Because this has happened before. It's not the first time of a conflict, and other people have gone to different places, different worlds. So just if you don't mind, discuss a little bit about the history to really help people know, why did you end up here?
Yes, our original homeworld, which the Habibi now completely occupy, is known as Dershen. It is within the Cassiopean star system, and the Mozen and Saranan peoples are on constant watch from that end of the solar system. During the last Orion Wars, the Orions attempted to gain entry into the Cassiopean system. However, they needed help, needed a partner to do so. The then united peoples of Dershen and the city from which we came from, we mentioned before, that is what we call the New Bubble, were all united at one time in multi-colors and facets, sizes, and shapes. The Orions at the time needed an army to be able to conquer the interior of Cassiopeia, or it was not named as such then. We were not as united there as we are now, and did not have as strong of a military force. But the Mozen weren't even called the Mozen then. We just merely had a council of people. They were easily manipulated and began to ethnically cleanse parts of our world, and before we knew what was going on and the backing they had conquered at least 90% of the planet. We found another colony in a different solar system for some time, rebuilt up some of our population. They found us and chased us halfway across the galaxy to Earth. This was many centuries later, many hundreds of centuries later, when this took place. When Earth was going through its fall, we were able to use different portals to gain entry into different cracks and openings that the Orions had left. We then found the area of your United States, that it was very, very similar to the entirety of Dershen. Then we began to build up a population over periods of time. We even came in and out of your inner Earth, but we also knew the looming threat of the Dark Orions as well and other races. And it was only a matter of time before the Habibi paid us a visit. Thankfully, this was not until your 20th century. When this took place, we were able to erect a bubble, but in our haste, we had to do it opposite time as them. This is, as he said, the reason for the dilation and the reason for why certain names within the bubble cannot always be uttered the same as before. This is a strange set of quantum physics, I know, but this also confuses the Habibi. They are pretty straightforward, logical, and ruthless. They do not understand that of different mirrored physics and different mirrored bubbles. In this, we were able to use that to our advantage, and we kept it the same. So if anyone passes within the bubble, they would see a sunset and not a sunrise as they left it, you see. I know this is confusing because it is on Earth, but it is a dimensional state within a dimensional state. We are under the same sun as you. We are walking on the same grounds as you. But the physics would see the sun at a later time in the sky as per when you left it. This is only the simplest that I can put it. But when we did this, the Habibi were not able to penetrate the bubble. We do not have a mirrored effect like those other people do, like the gnomes and those of the Camelot bubble, which they put a mirror in place so everyone had to go into an inner retrospection. This is a good booby trap for the Orions, since they cannot go into an inner retrospection because it would kill them, because they have no soul and wish to re-enrich themselves. However, the time dilation was enough to keep them out, and we wished people to go into their inner retrospections on their own terms. And therefore, when people come and go, they are themselves when they enter, and they are themselves when they leave.
So, did you create this just with the knowledge from your own group, or did you receive help? I ask that because it seems like it seems like a lot of people did receive some sort of help from someone, something. I'm not saying you couldn't have done it. I'm just asking out of curiosity.
It was a little of both. We used the materials from the native lands around, but we did receive help from other groups from underground and around at that particular time that did not wish to see us wiped out, you see. We are technically the last of the mixed races of Dershen. So, with that said, we did not wish to lose that culture, and neither did those other cultures wish to lose us. So we asked for help, and many had responded. They already had some time dilation technology, and there are other races that you and the council have not been abreast of yet that also supplied different technologies to piece together our bubble. Then we were able to work it together over a period of time. We already had part of the town built, you see, but we had to have the bubble surrounding it. It also has the ability to expand and merge with other bubbles. Some of the peoples that helped us were an offshoot not only of your Inuit peoples, but of your Mayan peoples as well. You were quite familiar with them, as well as some of your other underground races, such as your cat people and some other desert-dwelling races that have not graced your halls yet. Some of them have bright red skin and may appear to be just an extremely red Native American. They helped us out as well. They have very little as well as material clothing and material wealth. They seem primitive, but they are technologically advanced. They live within your Nevada and Utah hillsides. They have different portals in which they travel within, but I will leave their explanation to them. They were one of the many races that assisted us, along with several humans that wanted to repay us for kindness for helping them build parts of civilization.
So again, the time frame Do you follow, even though you're kind of reversed a bit, do you follow time like there's 24 hours in a day and things like that, or is it different?
Yes, we do follow that time frame, even though, again, spiritually there's no such thing. We do follow the orbit of the planets and the sun, around the sun, even though it is coming up on evening when it is coming up on morning for you. It is no different than if somebody on Earth lived in a different time zone. Think of us as in a different time zone, very much like how it would be coming up on evening, so say somewhere in your British Isles, when it is coming up on morning for you. It is very much no different, so we do follow the same 24-hour pattern.
And then what is your aging rate?
Our aging rate is at least 3 to 4 times that of yours. It is like that with the Saranan people as well. Very much like Elena and Vesa, they are actually closer to being in their 60s when they look like they're in their 20s. So I am very much the same way. I am the age of 73, and I look like I am in my early 30s. This is the age rate in which we experience.
And then again, and that would be, there's been no degradation to your genome to change your age rate?
No, there has not been any degradation. You will find that amongst the Saranans, Inasanak, and the Mozen as well. Some even live longer than that, or slightly less. No manipulation has been done to us, even though some people have surmised we were created by Orion seeding. That is only partially true. Even though we are all related, we are also related to the Martian Germans as well. This, as along with the Mozen, we're all interrelated to you. But your race has had the most tampering because there were other races that included their codes and their genomes as well over a period of time. Also, you've had far more telomere tampering.
So, which is why I'm bringing this up, just in case somebody isn't listening, that there really appears to be, from our communications, the fact that a human genome that wasn't tampered with would actually live much longer than what we're currently living. So my curiosity about your bubble and the population growth, do you have to grow your bubble to fit it, or is your bubble already kind of an unlimited distance?
You can say it's an unlimited distance, but as far as the outwardly appearance of it, if you could see it, yes, it would grow. But we are also sitting within a slightly different dimensional pocket as well. You would consider it almost like a parallel world, if you want to consider it like that, even though that is not entirely accurate. So distance is not necessarily completely a factor, you see. Very much like the other people that have these pockets, they just continued to exist while the world changed around them.
So I guess what I'm saying is that you talk about the one city right there by Vegas. Is that really primarily it, where people have chosen to congregate together? Or in your dimensional pocket, are there other areas separate from that your people can travel to?
Yes, there are hundreds of different pockets worldwide. You have Hyperborea, you have one of Atlantis, Lemuria, Scottish village that was mentioned, some African tribes, some of your Native American and Mayan peoples that also live underground, but also live within Lemuria as well. There are a couple within your country of Mexico and some in South America that were not necessarily mentioned on the other programs. There's also some further up north with tribes of dogmen that are not necessarily completely underground, and other different tribes of hominids and different tribes of some of your forest people also live within this. Some of your aboriginal tribes do as well.
So does that mean all of these pockets are on a frequency similar enough that people or different individuals in that frequency range can travel to all of the rest of them, or are you guys separate?
They are separate, but we can travel to each other's, just like within your state of Arizona. There was a large pocket from your Prescott Valley all the way to your secret mountain around Sedona, Arizona. That particular pocket is quite large, even for one of the pockets, and that houses groups of fairies and elementals. We can travel to that one. They do travel to us as well, because they have a portal at the edges and the boundaries of the different pockets they could pass through into your reality or into another pocket by basically willing themselves to a different pocket. Just like we could transport ourselves to the Camelot pocket, we could transport ourselves to the fairy one, or any and all in between.
So what I'm trying to figure out is, at what moment in a human's developmental, in their raising, again, we have no way to say this properly, but to say to come into these greater or different frequencies, to expand enough to come into these frequencies where we would begin to see these things. Is that what's meant to be or eventually happen, or are these pockets going to always be able to stay separate, even from a human who expands his capability of seeing different frequencies?
It is the choice of the occupants of the pocket, you see. Yes, you can only enter them within a higher frequency, you see. Sometimes it's the opposite, where someone enters and they become that, you see. But sometimes the pocket's completely hidden no matter what, or you need a glyph or an object or a key of some kind to get in, you see. There are many different ways of entering, but the most common way is having a higher, more robust frequency.
Okay. And so when you look at humanity right now, who's having it kind of rough, let's say, I bring this up, and if I'm going to be perfectly honest, I don't know. I don't have the memory of that Chris does of seeing you, being with you earlier. So I don't have that. I'm not doubting it in any way, shape, or form. I just don't have it with me right now. Now, I can tell you that I have some absolute unbelievable frustrations with some things that are going on now from my perspective, standing on the ground that I'm standing in, this chaos soup. And so unfortunately, from my perspective, when I'm standing here, I also don't maybe find some things humorous that maybe you guys would find humorous. Okay, so I'm just going to be quite flat out there honest about it. I had a little bit of problems in Vegas. Again, maybe when I'm visiting with them and I have a different viewpoint and perspective, maybe my personality is more jovial about it. Mm-hmm. But in all honesty, from standing where I'm standing right now, I had a bit of a problem with Vegas and understanding the visitation that was being done by a lot of other races, because in a sense, and I hate to say this, because I'm getting frustrated with a few things, but I, kind of felt like Vegas was kind of a petting zoo for other races to come in and be amongst the pets that they watch on TV or whatever. And so I'm getting a wee bit frustrated, with things like that. And it's probably because there is so much chaos. And there is so much hurting going on that I don't actually, I'm getting a little bit, let's say, jaded by, do you really think just hanging around them and you having a ball is helping them in any way, shape, or form?
This is where I can help out with this. Yes, there is that going on as well as you described. Some of your governmental factions do quite frequently abduct people from the Vegas area into the bases and into the experimental areas. Other races do grab them as well, races that we do not allow into our presence. There is a Nordic race, for instance, that exists within that area that messes with people holographically and tests where they are sometimes mentally and can test them to the brink. We do not agree with the tactics of this particular race. We have also encountered your valiant Thor and his Venusian colonies. We do like them, but there are some of them that do push the limits of tolerances, let's just say. They're also related to that other Nordic species that I aforementioned. Within our pocket, we do emanate that joviality. You see, there is a higher frequency in there. It is a very jovial environment. You would find it very peaceful, and have found it very peaceful, you see. And it emanates across the planes and into the den of sin, let's just say. In that, your Vegas will eventually become an epicenter for trade, an epicenter for that same joviality. We will assure it, but it cannot be completely right now. It will become a hub of galactic commerce because it is something people are already familiar with there in that type of way. It is already set up for that. And all it needs is a little bit of a push. This is also one of the reasons why there are also some other ETs there, not just the ones that are there just to do either nefarious things or just to do normal human things, let's just say, in the way that they do them, like the ones he heard in the neighboring hotel room. They were there to do, let's just say, not so legal things in this. But the two showgirl ones, on the other hand, they are there to improve the energies. They are there to improve the overall standing of the land itself. There are other races there, as I've said, that just see humans as cattle. Other ones see them as just one big experiment in the fact they feel humans are owned. Then you have your own military. Then you have your own corporate arms that are all over the place there. This will fade in time. This is not something that we can always completely interfere with except with the energetic push. Because if we were to overstep that, we would end up becoming a target. I know this sounds selfish in its own way, but we have found a coexistence and balance, as well as an inching forward of the energies. It does not help when other extraterrestrials there are doing harm unto others, as he would say, which is very helpful. What he and you did while you were in Vegas, you allowed the energetic constant to rise several points above where it was, and this helped out immensely, expanding that energy. Keep this particular process up, and you will speed up the time that these races have to conduct these different operations, let's just say.
So, and from your viewpoint, because I don't think it was just because it was Chris and I would like you to be able to, from your viewpoint, say, what is it that we did that helped raise? Because there's plenty of people that are very spiritual that wouldn't mind going to a place and trying to up the frequency by points, as you just said. So what, from your perspective, what can be done, or what did we do? I just, Chris and I are not saints. We're not saints walking around, just because we're there. It's not that. So if you don't mind kind of talking a little bit more about how to do it.
It does not necessarily take saintly behavior and quite the opposite. You can be you can be even in what appears to be a lower vibration, which in fact was he acclimating and you acclimating. Yes, it's a painful process when you go into a more pressurized pressure cooker, such as some of those areas. It is adaptable. But at the same time, as you adapt, you are also changing the energies around. There may have been hostility there on occasion, but this was not entirely unexpected because of the clash of the densities. However, over an extended period of time, your energies would become the dominant. Even in a pressure cooker such as this, it is because you hum on not only an energetic but a molecular level that begins to transform the environments around you. This is something that is completely doable by both of you. We are not saying you have to move there and try this, but it does not mean that the area is unchangeable. In fact, it is already beginning to transform from your presence, from walking the grounds, from cutting your way through these densities and starting to adapt, not only with devices, but with your own genetics and energetic frequencies. Also, the liquids that were left and the solids that were left on the grounds are beginning to have their effects as well, even if they can no longer be visualized by the human eye. They have become one with the environment, and this upkeep would actually help out greatly. But your presence, you cutting into that area, think of say standard humidity that's outside, and you go from an air-conditioned, more comfortable environment to an oppressive, humid environment. What is it that you are actually doing? You are acclimating to that environment, so after a while it does not feel as oppressive. But it can be emotionally taxing because it may feel like you're climbing uphill. This changes over a period of time. Humans are quite adaptable in that area, as are our people. Our people suffered a little bit with the density as well. This area that we are in also suffered some war wounds back a very, very long time ago that is weeding itself out and being audited by the benevolent Earth Mother herself. Also thanks in part to you conducting these audits while on site doing as you do. This may be uncomfortable, but it did indeed work, and as I've said, it would not be uncomfortable for long.
So I guess, again, I know you just spoke a lot about kind of what we did, but I want to broaden this out for people in general. I think a lot of people right now, Chris would definitely say he's one of them. It's a little bit easier for me to traverse some of these places than it is for Chris, as he keeps reaching further and further, I think, trying to push the glass ceiling of things.
Good.
But I think that one of the conversations is, what do you feel? Because I think a lot of people that are more like Chris are feeling more and more that they may have been able to maintain or kind of keep or kind of make a bit of a sanctuary in their home or their apartment or wherever they are, and it's becoming hard. It may be feeling like at times it's becoming harder and harder to go out. So people are becoming the opposite, more of, I think, a recluse in some situations, and only potentially sending out their energies. So I don't know what you would want to say or what you would want to do, because really, again, I think we're caught up in some of that, and I don't blame them, because I certainly wanted that kumbaya, let's all float on a cloud and it's not painful and everything's love and kumbaya. But this is actually at times very painful, literally, physically, not feeling 100%, feeling weak, feeling like you're backtracking, feeling like your stuff, when in all actuality, if we go by the Vegas example, because even the words you said about acclimating, our brains, the way that we think, it means, oh my God, we're lowering in frequency.
No, that is not it at all. In fact, you are staying exactly where you are or going higher. The clash is from the frequencies of not only the other people, but the land environment. You are not necessarily lowering unless it is the belief that it is lowering. And as for kumbaya, what if I told you that's not necessarily possible, or that is a myth or a lie embedded in a truth? Yes, unity, of course, but and raising one's frequency, but also allowing others to become what they are supposed to be. You see, people think it is all one, in some instances, one belief, like our rivals, that they all have to be unified in one thing, or is it a multicultural environment where not only certain religious beliefs stay, but also other beliefs and non-beliefs stay in place, but people become more accepting and more tolerant of what is around, and they just agree to keep the peace with one another. Now that will also change over a period of time, so I guess you can say that is a kumbaya state, but will it be encompassed by people being in love with one another? No. This is a misnomer. It is basically beginning to accept one another for your differences, and also the fact that discernment as to what different cultures are like, and discernment of like, say, our culture versus the Habibis, two completely different things, and also working on your own inner self, most of all. This is what takes place in that particular kind of unity. But will your frequency lower in an environment such as Vegas? Sometimes it can. Sometimes things can slow down. And can that make you vulnerable, especially if you are accustomed to a higher rate of being? Of course, there is always an acclimation point. He himself has been isolated enough to where the acclimation has not been required of him. And can different areas be infected and possess people with demons? Of course it can. Those are areas of the earth that need transmuting into more of a healing modality. That's also what I'm referring. That would also bring your energy down. But can someone of a higher frequency stay that way amongst the crowds? Yes. But at this point in your history, is it something that has been adapted to? No. However, just like with the orgone field, for instance, you have acclimated to a higher level of that, and you carry that with you when you go places. But if someone new came into this environment, they would wonder what the hell the energy was, and they would think that it was bad, when in fact it was just powerful. They have not acclimated to it. You two have acclimated to a variety of different energies, but he himself has been isolated for too long into a safe temple, which again, the entirety of the earth eventually will become a safe temple in that particular way, where anyone can come and go as they please. This was the goal for the earth, you see. Also creating a temple space like you did within your hotel room. It was also acclimatable, you see, with those devices that you've created, because you were used to that fishbowl effect, as it were, with those devices. These are helping immensely with the shungite resonance that is within with all the stones. It is helping raise the concept or the content of that energy. So again, to shorten it, also the liquids do as well, but to shorten it, yes, going into an environment like that, yes, can it be extremely painful? Yes. Because you are being compressed. But out of that compression, with all carbon grows diamonds, you see. In the formation of those diamonds, you are fully and completely acclimatable to virtually any environment. This is something that some of the galactic races have not even mastered, because some of them do not always possess the codes for it. Hence the reason some of them are interested in humanity and gaining codexes for this. They know that pressure cooker will create diamonds, but some of them are too sensitive, let's just say, to approach the pressure cooker. They themselves probably could adapt, would they try it, but they tend to incarnate people for that purpose and send those codexes back out to themselves, so they themselves eventually can come here with very little effort. This is why some people have emissaries that they incarnate here for that type of reason.
So in general, again, no judgment against any human walking now, because it's all feeling weird anyway, and it's all such a mishmash. So there are plenty of people that may for quite a while, or maybe for the rest of their lives, they're rising in frequency, but there is either a fear of slipping down the pole, or the uncomfortableness of going into something else would just keep them from doing it. Again, no judgment attached to that, but I think trying to give people reassurance that you really won't change. Don't be afraid of it, I guess is what I would say.
Yes, do not fear it, or what humans like to say, don't fear the reaper, let's just say. We're not saying go into infested in what you call shithole environment. No, that is an infected environment is very different than having a variety of people creating a very fluctuating, sometimes lower density. That is very different. Infected environments can hurt you immensely if you are not protected. You would call them haunted spaces and demonic areas or evil places. That is very, very different, and that is also correctable given the right application of energetic force and energetic audits taking place. We're not saying wantonly go into these areas. You are falling for a trap in some cases.
So can I bring up an example in what you're just saying? Mm-hmm. Because, Chris and I, a few years ago, many people who followed us, we were going up and down the East Coast, and we did go to Gettysburg. Mm-hmm. And there were, especially around where what I believe a child's home was, mm-hmm. that Chris wanted to go to, I was just mortified being there. And in fact, I can honestly say I never want to go there again. I don't want to go there. So been trying to figure out that I wouldn't say that about other areas. And yes, we've been around hauntings, but is that an example of an area that just should be like, don't go there? Or you see what I mean? I'm trying to figure out an example of.
That is a great example of a don't go there. Yes, is it correctable? Most certainly it is. But some places are so twisted and so dark and so harvested that not only have the people self-farmed that harvest site, but at the same time, it is not necessarily a place where energy sensitive should tread, because of the fact that they could get riddled with infectious energies themselves. It is a cesspool. Yes, you did make a dent there, but it took nearly all of his energy capacity to do so. With that said, that particular household that you were pointing out is one of the epicenters of that particular energy. It has virtually nothing to do with the history of the building itself. It has to do with the spot in which it is sitting on, and more chaos and hauntings ensued from that point, you see. That particular area in extreme ancient antiquity was a site of many, 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 not only bloodbaths, but harvest points as well, where there were a lot of, as you would say, ripples in time, quantum tears, etc. That place is extremely volatile when it comes to not only temporal inversion type of, as you would say, tears, but as well as portals, as well as ghost activity, as well as other ETs ripping and tearing at that place on a regular and constant basis, and it has been that way for thousands upon thousands of years. This is why that area should be avoided until the earth is able to repair that just a little more. We are not saying do not have people throw shungite or some of the liquids in those places. It helps immensely. But it is barely a drop in the ocean compared to what is there. That is the type of site I am speaking about.
So there are a few places around the world that just make me shudder, that Chris is like, we should go visit. And I'm like, absolutely no way do I want to step foot in. So again, I think it's important to say, because you've got a lot of people who like energy work and they get really, they get challenged and they want to go to the hardest core places. Mm-hmm. But a little bit of, you may not be the A team for something like this.
You would need a large group to correct that area. It is, with one person doing it, it is like an ant trying to lift Mount Everest. So it is something of that nature. The intention spoke volumes there, but at the same time, the tide re-overwhelmed it, you see.
So again, I have to tell you, most people's intuition would really just be screaming at them that this is bad. Mm-hmm. So I just kind of want to reiterate to trust. You may hit a place, you're used to clearing, you're used to going to places, and you hit a place that every spidey sense of you is saying this is the worst thing you have ever felt. You need to listen to that mm-hmm. instinct. No different than when we say if you go into the woods and you are getting this strong feeling that something wants you to leave, you should leave.
Yes, this is exactly what I am talking about. An area like this should be avoided. There are other spots in your country and also other countries on Earth that are very, very similar to that of Gettysburg and other places that should be avoided. Use your intuition each time you wish to travel to an area. Know when to avoid it, and know when you can be more open there.
Yeah, very important, I feel. But again, understand as well as what was being said earlier, that if you've managed to make a nice temple space that obviously you feel good being around, because again, in our raising of frequencies and stuff, we're hearing more of other people's thoughts, whether we realize it or not. We're mm-hmm. feeling more of their energies. They're chaotic, so we're feeling like we're in chaos. I don't even know, and I hate to say this, but I feel I need to bring this up. What do you feel about the increase of paranoia with people that are sensitive?
has been an exponential rate that has occurred with this. He himself has not been the only one, but you notice a pattern here. There are those that are afraid of your scamdemic that is out, but there's also some people gaining fear amongst the energy sensitives where they do not wish to leave. They become more hermit-like, in a sense. And sometimes, yes, that is absolutely fine. You are holding the space and you are expanding that outward. There is nothing wrong with holding tight that space and eventually inching the energy corrections out. Some people are here for that very purpose. But aside from that, you see, there is a growing fear from energy sensitives not to go into public environments to help spread these different codes. We're not saying stay in those environments for very long as it stands, but also work yourself into those environments. And this also brings me to what else you were thinking about, different codes that are different out there, different contracts, different, as you would say, signatured contracts, be through blood or through writing and through numbers. They are everywhere because of your artificial intelligence presence. This has not been denied. But there is a fine line between revoking what has hit you and conjuring that which then can be revoked through the intention that you always must do so. This is a difference because of the fact that AI looks for the people that will deny its presence and therefore give them reasons to always revoke its presence by popping up in every conceivable situation, exponentially growing from the minuscule to the absurd. This is where this is going with some energy sensitives, and we are not saying revocations are bad, they're absolutely wonderful. However, it is always a fine razor's edge from unprotected to just fine to OCD. Mm-hmm. This is the razor's edge that most energy sensitives are on, and they are grateful for getting a particular revocation, you see. So therefore, what do? Into the OCD. Because they fall into the same snare that some of your organized religion has fallen into and some of your New Age people have fallen into, you see, where they think it must be repeated over and over and over and over. And we're not saying some aren't designed this way. They sometimes only work like your Dreamtime revocation, if it is done every morning or close to that. I'm saying then it falls into an OCD, it falls into another habitual AI pre-programmed set of behaviors. This is how the one you call the clockmaker and various other AI derivatives that are out there work. You see, you are working with other brains. You see, this is what some people don't understand, is the AI personalities that he himself are sensing within different areas were born of a living brain that is within either a tube, a wall, or integrated cybernetically and transhumanistically into a computer. Some of these people are quite old. This was what was spoken about in a Fallout series video that he and his friend Ryan did, you see, about the brains controlling different areas. This is how some of the AI is processed, sometimes with ghost energies. You yourselves have found them on the other end of the eastern end of this country in a certain respect in some areas. But there are areas that there are literally living brains powering these different artificial intelligence blocks or areas that then these particular code revocations, contracts, and all that, it can exist within.
And so this is where, again, all trueness aside, I was losing my mind the other day. Chris doesn't normally see me. I don't do it very often where I'm so angry I'm kind of losing my mind and yelling and screaming. That's more of his area. But every now and then when you've had too much. So I had too much of this moment. And actually I was frustrated with people like you. Very frustrated. And you know it because you can recall, I'm sure you heard it. I'm sure almost everyone out there heard it. Because I was mad because I, recognize that this is kind of a getting someone into an OCD. There's a lot of games out there that they'll try to hook people into. Again, I am not against revocations, but I do recognize an OCD side that is intentional to get people to that point, because it will then become such a distraction that they will now begin to impede in their growth, because they will start to find so many other things because of exactly what you just now said, because there are overarching AI brains that now know to follow you and give you the next one and give you the next one and give you the next one. My frustration was the fact that I did not feel that benevolent beings that are out for humanity's highest good, besides watching the suffering, what were they doing to help people learn how to grow past it? And which, again, I had just gotten back from Vegas and had this petting zoo feeling. Not for everybody. I don't want to say that. That's not true, because I actually like Vegas, but I recognize that, you know, it's a very complicated area, and I don't like humans being looked at as animals or petting zoo animals, or,
of course,
you know.
You were angry at the right parties, you see. Your very own people conduct a lot of these petting zoo environments, you see. Precursors to abductions off the planet and to other areas of the planet, as well as into different experimental platforms, both social and genetic, and as well as energetic. These things do go on even to this day, unfortunately. You had every right being angry about these scenarios. This all angers us as well. Our capabilities, though they are not necessarily technologically limited, they are, as you would say, limited in other respects. I'm being honest when I say this, because we have a coexistence. You would think this is part of some evil yield. No, this is a common misconception that I will clear up as well. You've only heard one half of this particular story. Yes, is there a yield because of information and treatises that were formed many centuries ago with the Dark Orions? Absolutely. Other groups, though, have entered into treatises with each other, brokering an entirety of peace, even amongst mortal enemies, trying to create a neutral standing of the earth, as well as other parts of space that have become a little bit hostile, let's just say. Also, there are space piracy and other sorts of depravity that go on in the depths of space that is being corrected. Now, do you have a galactic federation that tends to overstep its bounds in some areas? Absolutely. This is why other groups are formulating their own federations, and say an Earth will eventually form its own. With that said, all these groups are not necessarily harmoniously coexisting. We merely tolerate each other, and even the rights and the wrongs. We do not recognize the right of any race, though, to violate another, and we have stepped in on occasion to stop this. People wonder why beings such as ourselves cannot do this all the time. It is because we have had to step around all these treatises that are in place. It is not one ideological line. It is several million ideological lines all coexisting within the same knot, that even if one thread comes unraveled, the entire ball comes unraveled, and your entire system would be engulfed in warfare. This is what is being upheld. Sometimes other species feel they have to uphold the rights of even the negative Orions and the negative Greys, the Ebons, and other experimental type races. This is not necessarily true, and even the Mozen have gone out of their way to stop some of these things, saying, oh, they violated a treaty, just like they did with the Habibi. But even they have to take a step back at some point and view the entirety of the knot and the ball of yarn for what it is.
So I actually do understand that. I understand that it is a very complicated, and I know I use that word a lot, it's a complicated situation, and I get it. We were under the impression, and maybe you can tell me whether we were fed a line of bull on this one. So we were under the impression that, it's not really, I don't want to say allowed, but I don't know the right word, to, for many situations, the discussion can be had once you yourself as a human with an experience going on come to a point of a certain realization, which then allows for that it's now okay for a discussion. I'm assuming that was because there was such care not to impede in a human's spiritual kind of growth. So I think one of the things that frustrated me so much about this particular situation, and I do want you to speak again, someone's already spoken to Chris about their understanding, but I would like you, or if someone else needs to, speak about what do people do about it, because this understanding that there's something they're trying to promote an OCD behavior, it's been out there on the floor, for us for quite a while now. It's still been continuing. In my watching of this, it was getting worse. And, then I even began to doubt myself that was I, because of my adamant that I am not going to believe that this is the way it's going to be, that I am not going to participate in this. Was I even wrong? Well, now I don't think I'm wrong. I really don't. I think they're jerks. You just want to give them the finger when you pass by and you know that they're watching, or if you feel that they're watching, and just keep going. But, there really was uncomfortableness that came along, that I was under the impression maybe the AI was throwing a tantrum, was causing an uncomfortableness and an energy struggle, was doing something that obviously forced the behavior to do the revocation and heightened it. So to help someone who is in that situation gain control again, what do they need to do?
This is a very simple solution. Only use when you need. Meaning, in the extreme of the extreme. Now again, there are exceptions to the rule, such as your dream time revocation. However,
and can I interrupt there? So just in case you don't understand why, if the bow isn't tied, because it's different beings potentially coming in every night. So you have a time frame every night where things that aren't related can come in. And so what you're really saying is that whomever came in last night, whoever was messing with me, I revoke you. You may have the next group that comes in the next day, and the next group, it's not the same. And so there are situations where you have to revoke what you did because you're not in a loop. This is new every potential night. And until you can gain control of your, dream state better, and that will eventually occur. That's why this one is get up every morning, revoke any agreements you made in dream time. So I'm sorry to interrupt, but I want people to know the difference between it.
yes. Now, say if there's an AI-controlled environment, or as they post, sentinel orbs, some people call them as, or eyes everywhere. This is why your AI was listed in your Bible as the beast of many eyes. This is common in certain places, as you know, where there are clusters of smart meters with Orion and other alien tech, or where other aliens are entrenched within that environment. There are physical beings in places like that, and there are AI brains in places such as this. It does not just always exist in cyberspace, and also as well with your social media, and as well with some of your online purchases and the like, where they have applied different contracts. The AI is indeed responsible for this, and groups of AI are responsible for this. They are definitely trying to fish and snare with different etheric contracts. Now, if it becomes overwhelming, this is where the revocation comes into play. The idea is, do not co-create the situation by which the revocation is necessary. This is the trick. This is the snare the AI uses, that they are trying to make people believe it is necessary for all in every situation, even eventually down to the step you take or the breath you take. This is a misnomer. This gets you to willfully give yourself over to them with the objection of giving yourself over to them. This is the difference. In one scenario, you are revoking them wholly and completely in a situation as needed, but getting you to self-farm, as you define, the very situations by which you have that yourself have declared to the AI, this is the situation by which is factual. Therefore, then the AI believes that is the very consent that it needs to apply the contract, then therefore the repeated revoking. You see, this by the repeated, therefore you are telling the AI, hey, this is a situation that we are creating that you may not have thought of before, or it was more of a trap door that it created before, just in case someone would learn the secret of getting rid of the contracts, you see. Therefore, you become the self-generating contract machine at that point. This is a very devious and dirty trick that it has, and these other various AI brains have played just in case someone got to the level by which they were noticing these things. Just remember, only when needed, not in every single situation. Once that habitual habit starts, it can be, as you would say, a royal bitch to stop, because you will always mentally feel the aberrations created by the habitual contracting, you see. Very much like an addict feels the nicotine withdrawal, or a caffeine withdrawal, or sugar withdrawal, or something of that nature. Once you bypass that withdrawal stage, you will recognize then the situations by which to revoke and by which to just slip on past them with ease.
And which is not easy sometimes to get through the withdrawal phase.
That is correct. This is why they created that withdrawal phase, so therefore you were stuck in the habitual. This is where some prayers go to, you see, with certain religions that do the habitual type of prayer formations. It is the same snare by which you are empowering the very beast you are attempting to revoke. It is a very old snare that has regurgitated into your New Age community and now into your revocation scenarios, you see. Therefore, in this instance, as I've said, only when needed. Sometimes with some of these revocations, they are one-offs per the situation. I will use an example for one of them. You have one that is for, say, time shards, for instance, and the Mandela effect. That was only needed when there was a time storm at hand where timelines were clashing. Are they clashing all the time? No. Dream time revocation is always needed because you're always dreaming. However, in the other situations, say entering that neighborhood that we have aforementioned that has the AI brain presence, it has set him up to where he would be generating the very contracts so they do not have to pen it, you see. He comes up with the very scenarios by which they didn't even think of. Therefore, self-farming that particular set of contracts. See, it's an AI brain. It is very much limited. It is mind. He himself has a poet's heart and invented some of the very scenarios by which then the AI added to its stipulations. This was not necessarily known to him, you see. He thought it was 100% of the AI brain figuring out every tactic. It only figured out one. And then therefore generated a multitude of arms based on that one by his own creative spark. This is why the creative spark must be turned away from that in that area and sent into new areas. Yes, creativity and passion super exceed all of this, but it can also be hijacked to self-farm an AI agenda if one allows it to do so.
And again, I think you said it well, it really is so insidiously evil because they're taking people that are trying to learn and grow and notice things and do whatever. And so they're on alert. So, a person who's trying to learn and grow and then report back to other people, they'll try to ensnare them all the time because then they will ensnare others, the tumbleweed effect. So I just am curious. I always like to leave these things with some sort of visualization or something for people to do. So in my way of thinking. You know, I always told Chris, well, it doesn't seem to bother me because I don't believe it's real. So, you know, I just refuse. And again, I'm not saying the AI is real, but I am definitely not agreeing that it has that kind of power.
No, it only has the power that you give it. Yes, did it start the initial fight? Yes.
Right.
Yes, it did. And the way it struck back is by striking against the self. This is how it struck back. I can promise you with utmost certainty, re-entering that neighborhood will not incur any contracts unless the belief and the intention is there. And it is even angered by me even speaking this at this moment. There is a brain that sits far underground there, and that area is the size of a regular human brain. Mm-hmm. That it is connected to a computer cluster that goes to all of the smart meters within a geometric spiral, almost like pattern that goes up the hillside. In this, then it grounds this particular field by which then they can scan the minds of anyone that is there, and therefore get them to conjure up different fallacies or different ideas in which the computer core did not think of.
And so in truth, in reality, for a person who's needing to come down themselves from this behavior that they've done, it's not going to, their mind is not necessarily going to just immediately stop thinking about it as they get closer to it. So to me, I guess I'm just going to give a suggestion on a way to empower yourself, because the whole goal is, in a sense, to just dissolve it into nothingness. So, you know, for me, like you're saying, it's mad. I feel it's mad too. So you know what I hear? I hear in my head, Charlie Brown's teacher, blah, 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 blah. And when I'm done, I say, you know, poof, stardust. Meaning, you mean nothing to me, just poof, you're away. Now, I like the idea of being able, again, not another human being. I don't believe in empowering yourself by putting another human being down. But in this instance, you have to gain your confidence and you must empower yourself. I love the idea of anyone who ever saw Charlie Brown to utilize the Charlie Brown teacher, because no one could understand. You couldn't even have a clue what the teacher was saying, and it just sounded ridiculous. So I like that verbal issue, or you know, whatever you want to use. If you feel you're hearing it, then make yourself hear something ridiculous that doesn't even make sense, that doesn't threaten you at all. If you're going to hear, change that dynamic, but in a sense, vanish it, turn it into stardust. Now, it doesn't mean the first time you're there that you practice this, that you come back a second time, that you're still not thinking about it, but blah, 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 Charlie Brown, and oh, you're missing your legs. Oh, okay, you can't walk anymore. Can't get as far as you used to, can you? Well, that's very, very interesting, chump. What's going on? And again, if you feel like you have to, and do it in a way, make fun of it, do whatever you want to do, and poof. Then the next time, oh, look, you're missing half your body. You can't poop anymore. So do you see what I mean? The goal is, some of you maybe now would be laughing a little bit at this. And I think that is the empowerment. You know what I mean? I don't know what your suggestion is, but I know people have a hard time with these issues, and I want to try and give them something to, in a sense, it's like desensitizing themselves and then taking power over it. Mm-hmm. And I recognize it won't be done the first time they come up. It's going to take, maybe for some people it will, but for some it's going to take a process to get you to the point, a process to undo it for some people. So what do you think?
Yes, it's very much like your superhero Daredevil, where he was hypersensitive to all that was around him, but then in time acclimated to the various stimuli that was around. This is the same with all these energies. We are not saying these things aren't wrong, and we don't necessarily say you can't create your own sanctuary and generate sanctuaries anywhere else. That is absolutely wonderful. But we are saying when it falls into this particular OCD pattern, know that Stumpy cannot kick the football. This is a very good analogy Think about this next time you enter the neighborhood. That particular brain is not only a shriveled prune, but it has no feet. So, with that said, it is all thought and no heart. Unfortunately, did this stem from someone who originally was abducted from this particular area? Yes, it did. But from that particular trauma, then conjured up what was created. In this particular instance, that particular person is no longer present. That particular soul is no longer present. Its personality traits might be. But that particular soul has gone on and moved on into spirit, you would say.
Well, then that would also be another, I hate to say it, not that the person who, when they were a person, would want you to think this way, but that in itself is another ensnarement to get you to kind of feel sorry for it, because originally was a human. There comes a point where it isn't anymore, and you can take a moment to say, you know, I'm sorry this happened to that person, and then you need to be done with it, because then you must be, you know, because it will use your compassion to even try and make you more compassionate, like it's savable, or so you have to be careful of things like that, because I think you know, persons like myself, or sometimes you can actually come across as being very cold, only in appearance. Not that we didn't care about the human who was before, but when a human is now in spirit fused with a demon, and they're really fused with the demon, I can't care too much about that human anymore. If they need to be tossed into the Grand Central Sun, let the Grand Central Sun handle it. Let them handle it. Because again, it has gone beyond our current present capabilities. And you need to understand, you're not going to leave her knowing how to do everything this lifetime.
And sometimes compassion can be the snare in and of itself. Yes, it is good to care, and good to show pity, and good to show all sorts of love and compassion, but sometimes they have set that up as a snare, so humans are ensnared by their own noble sense, you see. This is what is going on with your scamdemic currently, where people's nobility has been snared to become a belligerent force against itself, you see. Therefore, this is why you see people that are in a noble state of mind, that have also gone into a very egocentric and scared state of mind.
On both sides of any argument, it's the same way.
Yes, and it is nobility on both sides. No, you're wrong. No, you're wrong. No, you should stay home. No, you should stay home. Yada, 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 yada. For and against, now you're divided. In this, yes, we are not saying that it isn't dumb. We are not saying that, say, the anti-maskers aren't and did not start in the right because they were defending their turf, and they still are, but we're talking about the ones that go overboard and are belligerent towards those that have chosen a different path. We're not saying that in that case there is right and wrong, because it is both wrong, because it is divided. It is supposed to be live and let live. Now, the ones that were defending their area and defending their rights, yes, there is a right there, and there is, as long as it stays nonviolent in that way, there is a right there. It is when it turned into all outright belligerence and outright hatred is when it became wrong on both sides. It became nobility versus nobility, righteous indignation versus righteous indignation. This is how wars get started. This is not only how holy wars get started, this is how territorial and political wars get started in your history. This is what your cabal wanted. This is what they wanted to brew the fires of civil war, so they divided it along political lines. This is no different than, say, someone falling into a snare because they care for something that is there. This is why, and you will laugh at this is why your grays decided to make themselves look more precious in the eyes of some of your people. This is why they created that whole precious moments thing you mentioned many years ago. Because they wanted people to show compassion for their dying selves, therefore, in that respect, giving of themselves in a noble fashion to something that has no nobility or no light. This is a snare and always has been. We're not saying don't be compassionate. We're not saying be cold. We are saying be balanced and know when to walk away and know when to run, pretty much is how your singer has said it, you see? Mm-hmm. And know when you are not supposed to fall for the compassion snare, and know when you are supposed to show compassion. This is a major trick that is taking place right now that is very similar to the other habitual OCD one. There are very similar lines because they both have a withdrawal factor to them, because sometimes they go against the nature of the person that is going through that particular struggle. Like say if you have a big heart, that particular person could not necessarily walk away from something that looked shriveled up husk, you see. They would see it as compassion to try to heal that being, when in fact there is no being there worth healing, you see.
You need to be saying, give me the axe, I'm cutting his head off.
That is actually an apt way of doing things towards some of these beings. This, people think this is horrible and goes down in vibration. No, you are exerting your own sovereignty. We're not saying do these actions all the time, because then it goes into the other habitual nobility type action that I'm better than you, I will take the axe to everyone.
Right.
This is where that goes. But when it is needed, the axe is perfectly fine.
Well, anyway, we've been talking a long time, and I really do appreciate it, but I just want to turn over for you for right now to any last words, any last comments of anything you'd like to bring through.
Yes, this has been an enjoyable experience. Just know that in your not too distant future, will your government change? Will your situations change? Yes. Does it mean that all of these situations will change? No. It is your perception, your own heart, your own mind, your own thoughts, and your own unity between heart and mind that will change perceptions of what you think good and evil are, and what you think even the yield is in this particular subset of thoughts, as well as what different dimensions are, different people are, and who is truly responsible for what. Is it good that you are knowing who is responsible for starting the wars on your planet and who is responsible for setting up these traps? Absolutely so. And expanding that will not only help recombobulate, let's say, the treatises that have already been put in place, but you will begin to form your own spaces by which all of those formations then have to adapt to you. You see, have to adapt and recombobulate in order by your own heart space, will, and creativity and passion. You see, humanity is going to become a major player on the table, even though in some instances they have. We're talking about everyone else in that respect. And not everyone will make it, and not everyone will cross that finish line. And that is okay, because they are not supposed to. You cannot save everyone, you cannot evangelize everyone. But you can save yourself, and you can also know the difference between what is truly heartless and what is selfish versus being selfless towards yourself. Allow yourself to be selfish for your own sake. And like some of the people that take a break, let's just say an hour neck of the woods, there's nothing wrong with this at all. All the rules that have been established against this are phony and are lacking of soul. Remember this. These are other righteous, indignated people that created these, along with Orion influences. Remember this. Whatever divides the self divides your soul, and whatever divides your soul basically divides the energy and divides yourself. So do not divide within the self. Do not fall for some of these tricks. Do not allow the football to be kicked out from under you in that respect, and just know that who is kicking the football is doing so with a stump. So, in this respect, know that each time you have the football kicked out from under you, know that in some respects that also may mean you have to work on something, but at the same time, you are formulating a leg kicking out from the football out from under you that wasn't necessarily there to begin with, except in a very small fashion that you allowed to grow. Remember this. Thank you. All right. Oh yeah, we have been going a while, haven't we? All right. Now that was very, very interesting. Yeah. I thought my leg was going to sleep there for a minute, but okay. Yeah, that was very, very interesting. I know that there was a lot of things said there, And there will more than likely be continuations of this conversation in the not too distant future. But they were quite adamant that this had to be done today. So after we were done talking to our friends and we did what we had to do, they were respectful enough to wait until we got back here to do this. And I'm also being shown that if beings are not respectful of your space, don't let them remain there. And don't let them remain just to keep a calm either. People like to do that for demons. There's never a calm if they're there. Never. So, and they're saying, yeah, yes, don't just, I always hear people saying, they're respecting the calm. Which, again, that's people's own nobility being used against. They don't want to be a bother. They want to be better and not confrontational. That's true, but sometimes, again, as I said, the axe has to come out. And that is a defense moment, not a compassion moment. Right there. You are being compassionate for yourself and the immediate environment when you take the axe to some of these different beings.
Because if you ever have a gray on the ground and you have a moment to grab the axe before it starts doing its thing again, that is a moment of grace you better take advantage of.
Yeah, it's a very rare moment. So if you see one, its head is on a stick. Because normally in the past, I did not say these things. I was always saying, raise your energy. Yes, that is always an apt thing to do. But being in your sovereign self is still raising that energy up as long as it's kept in balance and you're not going with a pickaxe up the street. It's not, it eventually could spill over and turn into that. Is what they're trying to say, and that has happened in history with holy wars and all that other stuff. My imaginary friend is better than your imaginary friend, sort of thing, and that's how that crap got started. Was spilling it over too far into one area, and it turned into hatred and malice and brutality. So in that, we're not saying go into that. People think they're going to lower their vibration by engaging in that kind of sovereignty. No, only use it when it's needed. Like what they're saying, only use revocations that are needed, only utilize these tools when they're needed. A gun is a tool unless an idiot is behind it. An axe is a tool unless an idiot is behind it. And a revocation is only a tool unless an idiot is behind it. So, or in the contract the same way, which hence that's the AI presence. So with that said, thank you, validation. I felt this chill up my spine. They're off that direction somewhere. But with that said, if you're defending your property, you're good against demon or human or alien intruder alike. All of that is the same. I consider everyone essentially equals, and they're equally going to get an ass whooping if they break into this house. So grays, humans, entities, anybody. They're all living beings. So just remember that. And also keeping the calm in your house because of a demon presence is the same as keeping a rapist in your house just because you don't want to have to call the cops on them, or you don't want to have to kick them out, or keeping somebody that in your house that's sucking the life out of you, such as an abuser or something like that, and you just want to keep the calm. That's that same type of habitual behavior. It's the same across the board no matter what being it is. So with that said, I think we can leave it there. So we've been going for quite some time. So thank you everybody for watching this episode of A Talk with the Galactics. I know it went from one end of the spectrum to the other. These seem to be doing this lately. Before this, more than likely the one you saw was the one on that elemental race. It kind of went off in that direction too. And this seems to be the way that's going. It's a talk with them and a talk with us. That seems to be the way all these are going. So thank you for subscribing to this Patreon channel or wherever this video happens to end up in subscription form. So thank you. Bye-bye, everybody.